some of the fallacies. Let's talk fallacies just a little bit, like the truth and false that takes place that I hear a lot of. Okay, so when we talk acne, it's not a dirty problem. Okay, this is not an issue of you not washing your face often enough. If anything, the most common thing I see in my treatment room are people that come in who've washing too much and they're trying to dry out their skin. It's not always an oil production. There's dry acne out there. It is so that you have to understand this is not something about you're just not showering enough, you're not clean enough. It's not a dirty problem. Okay. It's an imbalance in regards to your oil production or in regards to your inflammation or in regards to how quickly your cells are regenerating and is sloughing off and whether or not that has become a perfect little breeding ground for bacteria. And so that has nothing to do with washing your face often. You should wash your face twice a day like everybody else, but we might change up what type of cleanser you're using. The other thing that I hear a lot of is dietary concerns. Okay, first of all, it's always gone back and forth, this argument, but it really is true that chocolate doesn't cause acne. It can be a trigger. Everybody has triggers, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this next section, but it's not the cause. Okay, so acne is often a hormone imbalance is the most common thing that I see for acne. It is internal, but it's not caused by eating one specific thing. There are things though that being said can trigger an acne response within the skin. Most commonly, the most common trigger that I see and that I have been taught, and it really is true. Like I can talk to people about doing an elimination diet of it for 30 days to see if it, and then reintroducing it, and sure enough, they'll flare. And that's dairy. There's an enzyme in dairy that has a tendency to cause irritation to the follicle. And if you're already got the overproliferation or too many skin cells lining that follicle wall, and the little microcomedone that's created with a little sebum, which creates this little seed that irritates that follicle, then you have that enzyme that causes the inflammation of that follicle. You have a perfect breeding ground for acne. So it's not that you have an allergy necessarily. It's not that the milk is causing it or the dairy is causing it. It's that it's exacerbating the problem, and therefore you have a flare-up. The other one is iodine. Foods rich in iodine can definitely cause a little bit of an irritation there. And last but not least, our favorite friend, sugar and gluten. Okay, so sugar causes glycation in the skin. Again, glycation is a fancy word for breaking down of the cellular wall. It also leaches nutrients from the cell, and then it also causes inflammation. So again, you're just exacerbating a problem that may already be there and asking for trouble. The second would be your gluten. Now, not everybody has a gluten allergy who has acne, and not everybody who has a gluten allergy who has acne has gluten issues, and vice versa. So I think gluten gets a bad name because everybody wants to have an answer and they just kind of pile on gluten-free is like the healthier option. And if you want to go gluten-free, that's fine, but I'm not saying that may or may not help. What I am saying though is that if you are truly a celiac and you really do have an allergy to gluten, often that can exacerbate the problem because your body's trying to eliminate the toxin that is created from the gluten, and your skin is an elimination organ. So you can have some inflammation that occurs. I know people who are celiac who are perfectly on a gluten-free diet, and their skin still has issues, and they're not eating an ounce of gluten because they would get horrifically ill from it, and yet their skin still has a problem. So it's not that it's causing it, it's just that if you already predisposition to acne due to genetics, hormones, or product, then you can already make the problem worse if you already have a gluten allergy. So hopefully that makes sense. And I also kind of want to touch upon makeup. Okay, so makeup can play. There is a cosmetic acne that's the name, and that's due to cosmetics clogging the pores or causing irritation to the follicle due to cheap minerals or cheap ingredients, cheap oils, and it causes an irritation to the surface of the skin because the skin doesn't like things that are sometimes unable to process. And you can get also oils that are in certain skincare products and minerals. Okay, I'm using mineral makeup in this as well, that can actually clog the skin and the follicle. So, especially if you're sleeping with your makeup on.